Well, I think the similarities were their leadership skills. They both made guys better. They both made their teammates better. They both cared about nothing but winning. You know, they didn't care about individual stats and MVP trophies and none of that stuff. They cared about winning. They both had incredible basketball IQs. They both were unbelievable on the court as far as seeing the game and making passes that you just didn't see. You know, neither one could jump very high.
And then you had all your media naysayers. Oh, scoring champion can't win an NBA title, or you know, you're not as good as MagicJohnson. You're not as good as LarryBird. You're good, but you're not as good as those guys. You know, I had to listen to all this, and that put so much wood on that fire that it kept me each and every day trying to get better as a basketball player.
I'll go first. Get back here and be quiet. Hold this for me. I'm busy. Lifetime Achievement Award. That means you've been around a long time. In Magic's case, probably a little too long.
Before Michael Jordan started flying through the league and before LeBron James grabbed the crown, the NBA was ruled by two giants, MagicJohnson and LarryBird. Their rivalry wasn't just the headline of the 1980s. It was the spark that dragged the whole league into a new era. East versus West, Showtime Flash versus blue-collar grind. One brought smooth swagger and the other brought cold-blooded discipline. Both delivered wins, both delivered impact, and together they pushed the bar higher than anyone expected. They weren't just legendary on their own. They reshaped the whole sport.
Well, gee whiz, LarryBird, I think is the best, Larry's not really the best rebounder in the NBA. He's not the best passer, I don't think. He's not the best dribbler. He's not the best shooter. He's not the best scorer. He's just the very best.
They fought for championships, swapped MVP trophies, and turned every Lakers versus Celtics showdown into a national event people couldn't miss. Whether you were a teammate, an opponent, or a fan screaming from the stands, you had to pick a side. This wasn't just two players going at it. It was two entire franchises, two fan bases, and two clashing basketball identities smashing into each other every season with real consequences. Magic and Bird didn't just show up in highlight reels. They met in the finals over and over when everything was on the line. Their battles weren't about drama or headlines. They were about pride, execution, and proving who could carry their squad when the pressure hit the ceiling.
For me, it's the fact of what you guys just brought up, who wants to play with other people on the team. And when I think of MagicJohnson, if I'm starting my team with the point guard that sat in the captain's chair and played center in every position in the game in the championship, there's no way I'm going against Magic.
Today, we hand the stage to the legends who lived through it. Hall of Famers, former champions, players who had to guard them, and even modern stars who grew up studying their games. Who gets the real edge? Who left the deeper mark on the league? Let's find out what the greats have to say. Before the Magic versus Bird era completely took over the NBA, Pete Maravich was already known as one of the most creative and skilled guards the league had ever seen. A true showman, Pistol Pete always spotted hoopers who were built different. Guys who helped teams win without needing crazy speed or wild athleticism. And that's exactly how he viewed LarryBird.
Oh, I gotta go with Larry Joe. I gotta go with Larry Joe. In today's rules, you can't touch him.
Yeah.
And Larry, so this is 27, 28-year-old Larry and 27, 28-year-old LeBron, right? Or is he 30 now, right? 30.
Yeah.
So 30-year-old Larry, 30-year-old LeBron.
To Pete Maravich, Bird's greatness wasn't about trying to top every stat category. It was about how his whole game clicked together. Larry didn't have to be number one in a single skill because when you actually watched him hoop, the results stayed the same every time. It wasn't just the box score or flashy moments. Bird controlled the pace without needing insane athletic moves or hogging the ball. He played sharp, lifted everyone around him, and took pride in outthinking his matchup just as much as outplaying him. For a basketball purist like Pete Maravich, that's exactly what made Bird different from the rest. Chris Webber has played with and against some of the most talented hoopers the league has ever produced.
Listen, I can buy that, especially like MagicJohnson is still a champion to this day. He's still impacting really winning with the Los Angeles Dodgers, what he's been able to add to the Washington Commanders. Like, wherever this guy goes, he wins, and he changes culture. So I'm buying that. Everything that MagicJohnson has been able to do on the court, off the court, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, all wins across the board. I'm buying it.
As a big man with high IQ and elite passing vision, Webber always respected players who could see the floor one step ahead. So when he's asked who he'd choose to build a team around, especially at the point guard spot, he doesn't chase the usual high-scoring names. He looks for the type of leader who can adjust, guide, and do whatever the squad needs to get the win. Webber points straight to the 1980 finals, the night a young Magic stepped in for the injured Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and took over every position on the floor. That performance, where he dropped 42 points, pulled 15 rebounds, and ran the offense like some seasoned vet, left a permanent stamp on the league.
I said, yeah, all of that. I said, but please let's not forget how incredible Bird and the Celtics were in their prime. I said, they were almost impossible to go in there and beat. And they said, why? I said, because you could not make a mistake with them. If you turn your head or you don't rotate right on time or whatever it was, those guys made you play. And it was him. Like, he was a savant on the court. Like, just a savant, like 2 plays ahead on everything.
To Webber, that level of versatility is what puts Magic on another level. And it wasn't some one-night miracle. Magic carried that same smooth confidence and control through his whole career. No matter if Magic was passing to a Hall of Famer or a solid role player, he made sure everybody touched the ball. Webber values that type of unselfish style because it builds real winning energy. And to him, Magic checks every single box you want in a franchise cornerstone. Reggie Miller, one of the most respected shooters the league has ever had, played with toughness, confidence, and a sharp mind. He knows greatness the second he sees it. And when he got asked about Magic versus Bird, he didn't even blink before answering. He chose the player he believes would be even scarier in today's NBA. So when Reggie starts comparing 30-year-old Larry and 30-year-old LeBron, he's not joking around. He's literally running the matchup in his head, lining Bird up against modern legends, and still giving him the advantage. In an era where defenders can't grab you or hand check.
Where does Magic Johnson fit in all of that?
Best player to ever play.
Magic. I was going to bring Magic.
I said the best player I've ever seen was Magic at 6'9".
Reggie says Bird would be even more dangerous. Larry could already shoot, pass, and rebound with the elite guys of any era. And if you take away the physical defense, you're giving him wide open space to cook even more. What hits hardest about Reggie's comment is the way he says it. Full confidence, no hesitation. This isn't nostalgia talking. It's one of the greatest shooters ever, giving full credit to a guy who did everything on the floor and talked trash while doing it. Reggie knows exactly what it takes to dominate. So when he says Larry would run today's league, that opinion actually means something. And then there's Lou Williams, a 17-year veteran with cold scoring instincts and respected basketball IQ, stepping in with his own take.
I think enough years have gone by that people like myself, guys like Magic and Kareem and James Worthy, are finally willing to admit that Larry Bird is the greatest in respect to the most complete player the NBA has ever seen. His fundamental game was basically flawless. On top of that, he was like a...
Lou Williams has seen greatness up close, but when the Magic versus Bird debate comes up, he doesn't rush to choose a side. He steps back and looks at the entire picture, not just what went down on the court. He looks at what happened after too. To Williams, Magic's influence stretches way past basketball. He sees Magic as a full package leader, someone who didn't just win games, but built cultures, set expectations, and carried that same energy into ownership and business. That type of leadership doesn't disappear after retirement. It shows up everywhere he goes, and that's what makes Williams' take stand out. He's not just comparing who had more talent, he's comparing who left a deeper footprint on every room they walked into. Magic's ability to step into any building and shift the entire direction of an organization, whether it was the Lakers, the Dodgers, or even an NFL franchise, shows something bigger than stats.
Good morning, sir. Although greatest of anything is always a debate, I beg to differ on greatest point guard of all time. Magic Johnson is easily the best point guard of all time. You must define point guard to really have a serious debate. Steph Curry is very close, but not in front of Magic. Steph Curry is by far the best shooter of all time, but Magic Johnson invented the triple-double. It's a point guard stat, to be honest. Magic was the best.
Winning followed Magic wherever he landed, and that kind of presence counts just as much as points, rebounds, or assists. Joe Dumars came out of the bad boy Pistons era, a squad built on toughness, defense, and never backing down from anyone. They battled the best teams in the league, including countless wars with the Boston Celtics. And even with all that heat, Joe never hesitated when it came to giving Larry Bird his respect. He said, yeah, all of that. And he meant it. For Joe, what separated Bird was his mind. Larry wasn't the fastest, and he wasn't the most athletic, but he played like he was 2 steps ahead of everyone on the floor. You couldn't relax for even one moment. Miss a rotation or lose focus, and Bird would spot it instantly and make you pay for it. For a defender who took pride in locking players down, that's serious praise.
For me, it would have to be MagicJohnson, because if you look at the traditional point guard, they've always been not small, but smaller. You know, Magic was the first oversized guy that excelled at being a point guard. You know, he actually gave Chris and myself the confidence to be able to get the ball, take it off the glass, and go all the way.
The bad boy Pistons were famous for shutting superstars out of games, but Bird gave them more problems than almost anyone. He wasn't just tough to guard. He forced you to play nearly perfect basketball every trip down the floor. And in the 1980s, when the Celtics had their full squad rolling, that pressure never stopped. John Salley lived right in the middle of the Magic versus Bird era, playing on a Pistons team that had to battle both legends to win a championship. He faced them, studied them, and when he's asked who impressed him the most, he doesn't spend a single second hesitating. To John, Magic wasn't just a great point guard. He was the full package. He had size, crazy vision, leadership, and total control on the court. Most players master 1 or 2 things, but Magic could do everything. And he did it with such calm confidence that he made the game look easy, even when it definitely wasn't.
Never really had a chance to play against Larry Bird, but I actually used to hate Larry Bird. I hated him. Because,
well, why?
I mean, because, well, not hate him, I was sort of like, you know, jealous of him, because he was a regular guy that did everything.
John isn't the type to throw around huge statements for hype. He played with legends and went up against the best the league had to offer. So when he calls Magic the best player he's ever seen, he means every word, not because of highlights, but because of how Magic impacted every possession, every pace change, and every teammate on the floor. At 6'9", Magic could run the offense like a guard while dominating mismatches like a forward. And that versatility stuck with players who faced him. Michael Cooper played alongside Magic during the Showtime Lakers run, and he also spent years going head-to-head with Larry Bird in the NBA Finals. As a defensive specialist, Michael Cooper was usually the one asked to slow Larry Bird down. And that job was way tougher than it sounded. Even after all those battles, Cooper has no problem admitting what Bird really brought to the game. Coming from a champion who guarded multiple Hall of Famers, that kind of praise isn't empty talk. It means something.
I refuse to believe it because Magic is my hero. Like, you know, I don't think you guys truly understand how much of a diehard fan I was, like a Laker fan. Like, dude, it was like, you know, Magic was all over my wall. You know, I used to wear really big knee pads because Magic wore really big knee pads. You know what I mean? I used to practice the baby hook, like, and so he is and always will be #1 for me, always.
Cooper isn't just saying Bird was great. He's saying Bird was complete. No big weaknesses, no wasted steps, no mental slips, just clean, sharp basketball built to win. Every part of Bird's game was polished, and he used all of it to take control of moments. When a guy like Cooper calls you a savant, it's not hype. It's a sign he sees you operate on a different level. Cooper saw it close up, Bird reading plays before they even formed, breaking defenses apart and refusing to let anyone off the hook. That type of respect lasts long after the final buzzer. During a live episode of First Take, Stephen A. Smith suddenly jumped in and said he had received a message on his phone. The debate was on fire about who the greatest point guard ever is, and Smith said somebody had just texted him, someone who actually earned the right to speak on greatness. At first, nobody knew who it was. Then he started reading the message out loud, and he revealed that Michael Jordan sent it. The message came straight from MJ himself. It wasn't some quick reaction either. It was a full, thought-out response from someone who knows what true domination looks like.
Do you now, in your heart, believe you're the better player?
Actually, I've always said that I go by success, and he's won more championships, so I give him the nod.
Oh, well, being very gentlemanly. Magic, same question to you. Is Larry the better player?
I've always said that Larry was the better player.
Really?
Because he could do more, shoot from the outside, all those type of things. You know, to us, really, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because what matters to me is that I played against the best. I got to know the man, Larry Bird. And that we got this friendship right now.
Jordan showed love to Curry, but he made one thing crystal clear. When you talk about the greatest point guard ever, Magic Johnson is still the king to beat. And coming from Michael Jordan, that's not just another take. That's a message dropped straight from the top. Hearing MJ step into the debate added real weight to the whole conversation. It wasn't just fans or TV analysts arguing anymore. It was the man himself making sure the record stayed clean. And the way he explained it showed how much thought he had already put into it. To Jordan, Magic wasn't just the best point guard. He was the one who shaped what the position became for every player who followed. Shaquille O'Neal has always respected the legends who came before him. He studied the game. He understood how it evolved. And when the question comes up about who changed the point guard position forever, Shaq doesn't hesitate for even a second. For Shaq, Magic wasn't just a crazy passer. He was the blueprint. He was the guy who made it normal and even expected for big players to grab a rebound and push the ball themselves. That whole wave of freedom and confidence came from watching Magic do it first at 6'9" and doing it at the highest level. But Shaq also had something personal to say about Larry Bird. He never played against Bird, but the respect was real, and it came from a place way deeper than just highlights or stats. Shaq admits something most players would never say out loud. It wasn't real hate, it was jealousy. Bird didn't look like the type of superstar people expected, but he did everything at a high level. He shot, passed, rebounded, competed, and won. And that bothered some guys, not because they disliked him, but because they couldn't understand how he kept pulling it off. That kind of honesty shows how big Magic and Bird really were to the players who came after them. They shifted what people thought was possible and earned deep respect from legends who followed. Kobe Bryant grew up with Lakers icons covering his wall, but one name hit him harder than all the rest. Before he became one of the greatest Lakers ever, he was just a young kid studying the man who ran the team before him. And that man was Magic Johnson. This wasn't about highlights or stats. It was about identity. Kobe looked at Magic as more than a player. He saw someone who shaped what it meant to be a true Laker, and that influence stuck with him for his entire career. The detail, the professionalism, the way Magic could control a game without forcing anything. Kobe absorbed all of that and carried it every time he stepped on the court. Even after Kobe built his own legacy and collected 5 championships, he never moved Magic from that top spot in his heart. Because to Kobe, Magic wasn't just a childhood hero, he was the blueprint that guided everything Kobe later became. After years of battling each other on the biggest stages, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird eventually sat down side by side for a rare joint interview. They were finally asked the question fans had argued about for decades, and the moment felt quiet, honest, and powerful. This moment wasn't about stats, MVPs, rings, or who won which matchup. It was about respect. Two competitors who pushed each other for more than a decade were finally sitting side by side, not as rivals anymore, but as friends who truly understood what the other had survived. In a league where debates usually turn into loud arguments, Magic and Bird showed something way better. They reminded everyone that greatness isn't always about being better. Sometimes it's about pushing each other to reach levels nobody else could touch. That kind of respect, built on real competition, is what made their rivalry unforgettable. It's why people still treat it as the blueprint for what a sports rivalry should look like. That moment between Magic and Larry wasn't just two legends swapping compliments. It showed how deeply they shaped each other's legacy. Every title chase, every final showdown, every iconic play had extra meaning because of the man waiting on the opposite side. The competition sharpened them, the rivalry lifted them, and the respect sealed it all into history. They didn't need to crown a winner because, truthfully, both of them were winning in different ways. Magic brought joy and creativity to the game, while Larry brought intensity and fire. And together, they raised the entire league up with them. That's why players from every era still point to these two, not just as all-time greats, but as the duo that pushed basketball into a whole new world. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird weren't just great hoopers. They were two sides of the same story. They changed how people played the game, how people watched it, and how people remembered it. Their rivalry gave the NBA its identity, and their respect gave it heart. Decades later, their impact is still felt, and players are still chasing the standard they set. You can't talk about basketball history without talking about Magic and Bird. It's impossible. They were the bridge between what the league used to be and what it eventually became. Before they arrived, the NBA was fighting for attention, and after they went at it for years, the whole world started watching. Their rivalry hit different because it was personal, but never messy. They wanted to beat each other every single night, and they competed with pride, emotion, and serious intensity. But once the buzzer hit, the respect was still there. And that respect only got stronger over the years until it turned into a real friendship built on everything they forced each other to become. One smiled through pressure, the other stared right through it, but both delivered when it mattered most. Both left behind a legacy that fans and players from every era still admire today. So whether you ride with Bird or Magic, Celtics or Lakers, the truth is simple. The game wouldn't be the same without both of them. They defined an era, lifted the NBA to new heights, and gave basketball something deeper than highlights or trophies. They gave it meaning. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. You can't talk about basketball history without talking about Magic and Bird. It's impossible. They were the bridge between what the league used to be and what it eventually became. Before they arrived, the NBA was fighting for attention, and after they went at it for years, the whole world started watching. Their rivalry hit different because it was personal, but never messy. They wanted to beat each other every single night, and they competed with pride, emotion, and serious intensity. But once the buzzer hit, the respect was still there. And that respect only got stronger over the years until it turned into a real friendship built on everything they forced each other to become. One smiled through pressure, the other stared right through it, but both delivered when it mattered most. Both left behind a legacy that fans and players from every era still admire today. So whether you ride with Bird or Magic, Celtics or Lakers, the truth is simple. The game wouldn't be the same without both of them. They defined an era, lifted the NBA to new heights, and gave basketball something deeper than highlights or trophies. They gave it meaning. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story.